During Grandma's will reading, my cousin said she doesn't deserve a penny. The lawyer smiled and said, actually, she left everything to the one who helped her catch the thief in this family. Then, he pulled out the audio files. The room went silent. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat, the sound sharp in the heavy silence of the penthouse. He adjusted his glasses and looked down at the document. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and mahogany, but now it felt suffocating. We will begin with the minor bequests, he said, his voice flat. My mother Sharon squeezed my hand. Her palm was damp. Across the room, my Uncle Gregory sat forward in his chair, his venture capitalist confidence looking worn and thin. To my son-in-law Gregory, Mr. Harrison read, I leave a sum of money to assist with the business debts I am aware he is struggling with. A collective sharp intake of breath. It was a perfectly worded insult, a final judgment from beyond the grave. Gregory's face went pale, then purple. Mr. Harrison continued, to my granddaughter Brielle. Brielle sat up, her crypto-influencer smile perfectly in place. I leave the antique vanity mirror she so often admired in the hopes that she will one day use it for genuine reflection. The smile froze, then cracked. That's it, Brielle hissed, her voice loud in the quiet room. A mirror. And now, Mr. Harrison said, turning the page, completely ignoring her outburst. For the remainder of the estate, including this historic penthouse, the entirety of the Matilda Vaughn collection of maps and manuscripts, and all financial assets valued at approximately $5.5 million. I leave in total too. Stop, just stop right there. Brielle shot to her feet. Her voice wasn't a hiss anymore. It was a blade. The room went dead silent. Before you read the name we all know you're about to read, she said, locking eyes with me, everyone in this room deserves to know the truth. My mother whispered, Brielle, don't. Don't what, Aunt Sharon? Don't tell the truth. She took a step toward the center of the room, playing to her audience. Hasn't anyone here found it? Odd that in the last 6 months, the most valuable pieces of this collection just vanished. I felt my blood turn to ice. The handwritten letter from a founding father, she ticked them off on her fingers. The original 17th century map of the coastline. $60,000 worth of priceless history. Gone. And who? She paused, letting the question hang. Who was the only one with access? Her perfectly manicured finger pointed directly at me. Our quiet little archivist Eliza. The one who spent every weekend helping Grandma. The only one besides Matilda herself, who had the keys and the security codes to the archive. That's not true, my brother, Caleb said, standing up. Eliza was helping her. Helping. Brielle laughed, a short, ugly sound. She was helping herself. She wasn't preserving that history. She was selling it, piece by piece, on the black market. The accusation hung in the air, sickening and unbelievable. You can't prove that, my mother said, but her voice wavered. Oh, I think I can, Uncle Gregory said, standing up slowly, his voice dripping with false regret. I hate to say it, Sharon, but it all makes sense. We all knew Eliza's little library job barely paid her rent. All that temptation. She managed the entire digital archive. She knew exactly what was valuable. She knew who to contact, and she knew precisely how to cover her tracks. He looked at me, his eyes cold. She played us all for fools, especially her own grandmother. Go on, Eliza, Brielle taunted, her smile back wider this time. Deny it. Tell them it's not true. Every eye in the room turned to me. I could feel their stares like physical weight pressing me into the chair. I wanted to scream. I wanted to list every weekend I'd spent carefully scanning those brittle documents, every hour I'd sat with Matilda recording her stories for each piece. I wanted to ask them where they were when she was lonely, where they were when she needed help. But I couldn't. My throat closed. My mind went blank and white. This isn't the silence of guilt. I know that now. This is the silence of conditioning. It's the good person's trap. It's what happens when you spend your entire life being the quiet one, the one who doesn't make waves, the one who avoids conflict at all costs. It's the learned helplessness they've programmed into you for decades. When you're finally truly attacked, you're not primed to fight back. You are primed to freeze. And in my silence, they saw their confirmation. I saw the look pass between them. The nods, the whispers. My own mother looked away, her face filled with a terrible, crushing doubt. My brother Caleb just stared at me, his face begging me to say something, anything. Brielle let out a small, triumphant sigh. See, she can't even deny it. She turned back to Mr. Harrison. She doesn't deserve a penny of that 5.5 million. She deserves a prison cell. If you are quite finished, Miss Brielle. Mr. Harrison's voice sliced through the tension. It wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made everyone, including Brielle, flinch. He didn't look at me. He looked directly at my Uncle Gregory, who was still wearing a mask of false concern. Uncle Gregory, Mr. Harrison said, his voice dropping to a clinical cold tone. I believe it was 4 months ago that you filed a petition with the court to have your mother, Matilda Vaughn, declared mentally incompetent. The color drained from Gregory's face. The air was sucked out of the room. This was new information. Even my mother looked stunned. I don't see what that has to do with anything. Gregory stammered, his venture capitalist bravado vanishing. We were concerned. She was getting old, she was. Forgetting things, Mr. Harrison supplied, his voice dangerously smooth. Losing her grip on reality, that was the narrative, wasn't it? He let the words hang. That petition, Mr. Harrison continued, was not only unsuccessful, but it was also the single greatest mistake you could have made. It alerted your mother that she was not just dealing with greed. She was dealing with a conspiracy. He turned his gaze to Brielle, who had gone perfectly still. It made her realize, he said, that the people she loved were actively trying to strip her of her rights. And so Grandma Matilda decided to gather proof. To protect herself. He then turned finally and looked at me. For the first time that day, his eyes held a trace of warmth. Eliza, he said. And my name sounded strange in the quiet. Do you recall the digital archive project you and your grandmother worked on for the last 3 years? I nodded, my voice a hoarse whisper. It was. It was to preserve her collection. To scan everything. To record her notes. Yes, Mr. Harrison said. It was. But it was also for something else. He turned back to the room and gestured to the laptop and the large television screen mounted on the library wall. Your grandmother, he said to the room, was not just a historian. She was a brilliant strategist, and with Eliza's help she built the perfect trap. What are you talking about? Brielle's voice was barely audible. I'm talking about the fact that your petition for incompetence gave Mrs. Vaughn, under my legal counsel, the full authority to document any and all interactions with you to prove her lucidity. He paused, letting the weight of the new reality settle on them. The digital archive Eliza so meticulously built. It wasn't just for preserving history. It was for recording it. In real time. He picked up the remote. Your grandmother's entire collection is digitized. But so are her emails, her text messages, her audio notes, and as it turns out, several phone calls. A low, strangled sound came from Uncle Gregory's throat. The accusation, Mr. Harrison said, his eyes finding Brielle's, is that Eliza sold $60,000 worth of artifacts on the black market. He clicked a button, and the television screen flickered to life. Let's consult the archive and see what it has to say. Mr. Harrison's expression was unreadable. He was no longer a family lawyer. He was an executioner. Exhibit A, he announced and clicked the mouse. The screen changed to an audio file. A date from 5 months ago appeared. Then Grandma Matilda's voice filled the penthouse. It was sharp, clear, and full of the authority they thought she'd lost. Audio note, May 15th, her voice crackled, painfully alive. Brielle just left. She insisted on borrowing the 17th century coastline map. She said she wanted to take some pictures of it for her Instagram to share the family legacy. I told her no. She took it anyway while I was in the kitchen. I am recording this because I do not trust her. She said I could? Brielle stammered, her face ashen. She's confused. That proves nothing. On the contrary, Mr. Harrison said, his fingers already flying across the keyboard. It establishes a timeline. Which brings us to Exhibit B. The screen changed again. This time it was a chain of emails. Your grandmother, Mr. Harrison, said asked me to hire an independent appraiser from Switzerland posing as a private collector on the black market. He made contact with Miss Brielle 2 days after that audio note was recorded. I watched frozen as the emails played out on the screen. There was the first contact from the Swiss buyer asking if she had access to any unique pieces. And then Brielle's reply, I have access to items you cannot imagine. Very rare. What are you looking for? The buyer. Something unique. An original map, perhaps. Or a letter from a founding father. Brielle, I have both. They are currently in my possession. But they will not be cheap. Let's skip to the negotiation, Mr. Harrison said, his voice cold. He scrolled down. And there it was. Brielle's final message. $60,000. For both pieces. Payment to be made in crypto to the attached wallet address to ensure discretion. The items are authentic, and I am the only one who can get them for you. $60,000. My mother Sharon let out a sound like she'd been struck. Uncle Gregory just stared his mouth open, as if seeing his daughter for the first time. That's entrapment, Gregory finally shouted, finding his voice. You set her up. That is called gathering evidence, Mr. Gregory, the lawyer replied, not even looking at him. But you are correct. That email chain alone is not the most definitive piece. That would be this. He clicked one last time. Exhibit C. An audio file from a phone call recorded 2 weeks after you filed your petition for incompetence. He hit play. The speakers hissed. And then I heard Gregory's voice slick and confident. Just make sure the court buys it, Gregory said. Once they declare her mentally unfit, we're in. We take control of everything. That quiet little mouse Eliza will be the first one out the door. A pause. Then Brielle's voice sharp and greedy. It's done. The $60K is in the crypto wallet. Clean. Untraceable. My heart hammered against my ribs. Gregory's voice came back. Good. Good. Once we're in control, we'll just say the items went missing. We'll point the finger at Eliza. After all, he laughed a horrible dry sound. She was the one managing the archive. Who is a court going to believe her or us? The audio file ended. The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by a single desperate sob from my mother. Uncle Gregory had collapsed back into his chair, his face the color of old parchment. Brielle was shaking her eyes wide with animal panic. And I finally understood. I looked at Brielle, at her perfect hair, her expensive empty life as an influencer, and for the first time I didn't feel anger. I just felt a profound cold pity. I realized I was looking at the living embodiment of imposter entitlement. Here was a person whose entire life was a performance. Her shiny curated career was a hollow shell, and she knew it. She was the golden child who had produced nothing of value, nothing real. She was the ultimate imposter. And when you feel like an imposter, you despise authenticity. You can't stand it. I had what she never could, a genuine connection to our grandmother, a real passion for the family legacy. I had the very authenticity she tried to fake online every single day. She didn't just want the money. She needed to destroy the one person who quietly held the very thing she knew she could never be. She needed to frame me, to erase me, to prove that my authenticity was just as fake as her own. She wasn't just stealing artifacts. She was trying to steal my very identity. Mr. Harrison paused the audio file, letting the last echo of Gregory's laugh fade into the horrifying silence. Brielle had sunk into a chair, her body rigid, staring at the blank screen as if she could will the last 5 minutes away. My mother Sharon was openly weeping, her gaze fixed on her brother Gregory, who looked like a man who had just seen his own ghost. There is one final file, Mr. Harrison said. He clicked and the screen changed. This time it was a video. My breath caught. It was Grandma Matilda. She was sitting in her favorite leather armchair by the window, the city lights twinkling behind her. She looked frail, yes, but her eyes were sharper than I'd ever seen them. She looked directly into the camera lens, as if she was looking right at us right now. If you are watching this, she said, her voice clear and steady, it means I am gone, and it means the truth has finally been brought into the light. She adjusted the shawl on her shoulders. Gregory, Brielle. Her voice was heavy, not with anger, but with a profound, weary disappointment. I knew what you were doing. I've known for months. I watched you. I listened to you. She looked down for a moment, as if gathering her strength. Gregory, when you filed that petition to have me declared incompetent, you didn't just insult me. You gave me a gift. You gave me the legal standing I needed to protect myself. Your attempt to prove I was losing my mind became the very tool I used to prove I was sharper than you ever gave me credit for. You provided the legal justification for me to record every single interaction, every call, every visit, all under the advice of my counsel. A small, sad smile touched her lips. You built your own cage. I just provided the materials. Then her eyes softened as they seemed to find me in the room. And Eliza, she said, and my heart broke. My quiet girl, my archivist. You never asked me for a single thing. You never looked at my collection and saw dollar signs. You only saw history. You saw me. While others were trying to possess, you were only trying to preserve. You helped me build this digital fortress, never knowing you were also building your own case. You protected me without even realizing it. She leaned closer to the camera, her eyes blazing with a fire I remembered so well. That is why you are the only one who can be trusted. The only one. The rest of them, they don't understand that history is a lesson. And this is my final lesson to all of you. The screen went black. Mr. Harrison turned off the television. The silence in the penthouse was absolute. He put the remote down and picked up the will, his voice returning to its cold, formal tone. As Mrs. Vaughn's video stated, the will is clear. However, it also contains a standard morality clause. Uncle Gregory looked up, a tiny, desperate spark of hope in his eyes. A morality clause, Mr. Harrison continued, which states that any beneficiary found to have committed a criminal act against the testator, including but not limited to theft, fraud, or conspiracy, automatically forfeits any and all inheritance. He looked directly at Gregory, then at Brielle. You are both therefore fully disinherited. Your minor bequests are void. You can't. Gregory whispered. You can't do that. I am not doing it, Mr. Harrison said. Matilda Vaughn did it. The evidence you yourselves provided has done it. He closed his briefcase with a sharp click. Furthermore, he said, as the executor of this estate and an officer of the court, I was legally obligated to turn this entire digital archive, the audio files, the black market emails, the evidence of your conspiracy and your attempt to commit perjury by filing a false incompetence claim, over to the district attorney's office. They received the full package this morning. Brielle made a small choking sound. I believe Mr. Harrison said, checking his watch, that Detective Miller and his partner are waiting in the lobby downstairs to ask you a few questions about the theft of $60,000 in rare artifacts. That was it, the final clinical blow. Brielle didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just collapsed. She folded in on herself in the designer chair, her head falling into her hands as she began to hyperventilate, the small, gasping sounds of an animal caught in a trap it never saw. 6 months later, I stood in the exact same spot in the penthouse, but everything was different. The heavy silence was gone, replaced by the low murmur of students and the rustle of old pages. The oppressive scent of old still air had been replaced by the smell of fresh coffee, and still that comforting scent of parchment and mahogany. The penthouse was no longer a tomb of history. It was alive. Using the $5.5 million, I didn't just preserve the collection. I expanded it. I fulfilled the real vision in my grandmother's will. This was now the Matilda Vaughn Center for Historical Preservation, a place that fully funded scholarships for young, passionate researchers and historians who couldn't otherwise afford to follow their dreams. As for Gregory and Brielle, their story ended not with a bang but with a spreadsheet. They were bankrupted by the civil suits before the criminal trial even began. The $60,000 crypto wallet was seized and donated to the center. Gregory lost everything. And Brielle. In the most profound twist of cosmic irony, she lost her real estate license due to the fraud convictions. The last I heard, she was working a temp job. A mind-numbing, entry-level job doing data entry. Her entire day was spent in a gray cubicle archiving. I walked over to my grandmother's desk. That night after the will reading, Mr. Harrison had given me one last thing. It was a heavy, leather-bound book. Her real secret ledger. Not the digital one for her enemies, but the analog one for me. I opened it. It wasn't full of numbers or assets. It was full of her handwriting, her thoughts, her lessons. On the very last page, written in her elegant, strong script, was one final note. Eliza, you didn't just save my history, you saved my story. Now go write yours. I ran my hand over the words, and I finally understood. The penthouse, the collection, the $5.5 million. That wasn't the inheritance. That was just the funding. The real legacy was the lesson. The real inheritance was the truth. My grandmother taught me that history always has its eyes on us, and that the truth, no matter how long it's buried, will always find a way to the surface. If you believe that true value lies in preserving, not possessing, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. What is a family legacy? A recipe, a photograph, a story that you would fight to protect? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. And please subscribe and ring the bell. You won't want to miss these stories of justice being served when no one expects it. Remember, the greatest inheritance isn't what you're given. It's what you choose to protect.